Today I'm going to show you how to personalize your TK8 plugin, so stay tuned, you don't want to miss this one. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. It's TK Friday again, and the TK8 panel has been out for a little over a week now, and I hope you're enjoying it. I thought I would devote this episode to customizing your TK8 plugin or personalizing it to help you speed up your workflow and to make your Photoshop experience all that more enjoyable. You know, it's more than just luminosity masking. It's also about your own personal workflow. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the TK8 instruction manual. Now, I'm going to provide a link for this manual in the description below this video. You get this manual when you purchase the TK8 plugin, but in case you misplaced yours, go ahead and click on the link and download it because you're going to want to have it as a reference. Things just keep getting better with TK products. Now, TK8 is really customizable, and I really want to break some of that down for you today and show you how you can really speed up your workflow when you really personalize the panel for your own daily Photoshop use. And like I said, it's more than just luminosity masking. It's a workflow tool, and that's exciting. Now let's get into the personalization of the TK8 plugin. Now, if my plugin looks a little bit different than yours, it's because I've started to personalize mine. Now, the TK plugin consists of the TK8 multi-mask panel and the TK8 CX and combo panels. But altogether, they're called a plugin, just in case you were wondering. This customization will be taking place with the CX and the combo panels. Now, you may use just the CX panel or just the combo panel, but after today you may decide to use both of the panels, which I'll explain why shortly. There's a new feature in the TK8 plugin, and that is the fact that you can have help on any one of these buttons. Anytime you hover over a button, you'll notice you have help, whether you're using the multi-mask panel or the CX panel or the combo panel. You have that instant help for you, which is really nice, especially when you're first getting to use these panels and you're not familiar with everything yet. But after a while, you'll start to know what things are, and you may want to shut those tooltips off. So here's how you do that. If you come to any of the panels and look for the TK icon, see on the multi-mask it's here, here it is on the CX, and here it is on the combo. Just click the TK. You'll notice you have a show tooltips. All you have to do is uncheck it, and now the tooltips won't be there. Now, if you say, well, I forget what this particular icon is all about, if you hold your Option or Alt key down, you can still see the help information. So that's really nice. So you don't have to be bothered by always seeing the tooltips if you don't want to. My next tip is concerning actions. Now, both the CX panel, you'll notice it has actions, as well as the combo panel has actions. Okay, so they both have actions. But here is my tip. I want to use the CX panel for all the different functions that it gives me, you know, all the different buttons and so on and so forth. But I want the combo panel to always have my TK8 actions displayed for me and never go away. And then whenever I need to quickly grab an action, I can simply click on an action and I'm good to go. Let me X out of here real quick and I'll show you what we need to do. What we have to do here is come up to the TK icon, give us a click, and you notice right here where it says Close TK, it's checked on right now, okay? So what that basically means is whenever I run an action, for instance, let me just go ahead and run an action. Let me run this soft pop action, by the way. We'll just run the soft pop action here. Give it a second. It runs the action. Here's my before and here's my after. It gives my image a nice soft pop. But you notice the actions close down and I'm back to the combo panel again. But I want the actions to always stay open. So here's what I can do. Let's X out of here. Come to the TK icon, click this, and see right here where it says Close TK. Uncheck that. And now let's X out of here. So now let me go ahead and turn the TK actions on again. Let me go ahead and let's just use another action. I'm going to delete this layer in a second, but let's use the vignette action. I'll click the vignette action and watch, it adds a vignette. I'll click OK. it adds a vignette to my image. Here's the before and there's the after. You can see the vignette. But you notice the action stayed open. So that's very interesting, right? So that means I can utilize the TK8 CX panel for all the functionality that it gives me, but I can also keep my actions open at all time. Now, if I don't want to see this pellet right here, I can shut this, or the panel, I should say. Shut that, it's gone, but then I can open it back up. And now that'll remain open to my actions anytime I open this back up. Now that'll remain that way until I shut down Photoshop. Once I shut down Photoshop and open Photoshop back up again, I'll be back to what that combo panel looks like. But all I have to do is turn the actions on again, and then as long as I keep Photoshop open, those actions will always be there. So all you have to do is remember when you first start up Photoshop, if you want your actions open up, just open them up and they'll stay open as long as you have this close TK unchecked. So that is my tip. Now, if you want to, you could take this combo panel and drag it somewhere else and always keep it open. In other words, maybe you don't want to keep open and closing up this panel here. Let me drag it over and add it to the channels and paths section here. If I'm not using channels, I got it right here, and that's always open for me. Okay, so here's my layers, here's my multi-mask panel, here's my actions open for me all the time, here's my combo panel. Can you see how powerful this customization can be? It really excites me. Let me show you something else before I forget. Let me X out of here real quick. Now, if you're a person that has a lot of user actions found in this icon right here, if I click this, here's my user actions. You can set this up to keep your user actions open up all the time too. Go ahead and click the TK icon and your customization menu will come up. And all you need to do is uncheck, see where it says close user, uncheck that. And that way you always have your user actions available at your fingertips. And coming up shortly, I'm going to show you how to make a user action that you can put in here that will launch any Photoshop plugin that you want. That's going to be really cool, so stay tuned for that. But you can keep that open all the time if you want to. So you can either keep your user actions opened up or your regular TK actions. I like to keep the TK actions opened up because I use them a lot, but whatever is your preference. But you also have this icon right here with your user actions in as well. So that's there for you all the time too. Now I do want to point this out as well. The CX panel and the combo panel are independent of each other. In other words, if I add user actions into the combo panel, they won't automatically be added into the CX panel. So they are different. So you have to load them up each individually with your own user actions. Which is actually something nice because we could come to the TK8 combo panel. In other words, I can have all my actions in here for launching programs, but then I could have a whole set of miscellaneous actions that I've created in this section. The next tip is going to be right-click color tagging. How do you like that for a term? Right-click color tagging. Let's take a look at my TK8 CX panel. Now you'll notice I have a lot of different buttons that they're colored. And these are buttons that I've color tagged. So they're buttons I use a lot and I want to be able to get to them quickly and find them easily. Color tagging buttons is one way to help us customize our workflow and speed things up. Here's a button I use a lot to resize my image to fit the screen. I'm going to right click on it and we'll color tag it. So now it's going to be easy to find. Here's a button I use a lot to remove selections or reselect selections. So I'm going to right click and color tag it. And another one I use is this one here to either hide a selection or to reveal a selection, but it doesn't get rid of the selection. So it's one I use a lot. And sometimes I can't find it, so now I'll be able to find it. Should you decide you no longer want to color tag a certain button, just right click it and the color tagging goes away. Right click again and the color tagging comes back. It's just that easy. Color tagging also works with actions, but it's a little bit more elaborate. And what I mean by that is if you right click on an action that you like to use a lot, like I like to use the spotlight action, if I right click here, it gives me a choice of colors. For instance, I may want to make this one orange for some particular reason. So I'll go ahead and click it and now it's orange. If I right click it again, I can change it to say maybe like a purple. If I want to remove it, I could right click it again and just click on this icon that removes the color tagging. But I'm going to go ahead and color tag it with purple. So it comes in very handy on your actions as well. And I highly recommend that you use this color tagging because it's really going to speed up your workflow. Hey, let me know in the comment section below what you think about all these different customization things that you can do. And let me know how you're using customization to speed up your workflow with the TK8 plugin. The next customization tip is how to program this instant action right here. This is a special button called instant action. You can put one action in there. Could be maybe say your favorite action. To load up this instant action, all you have to do is command or control click this icon, and when you do, it'll tell you to choose an action set. Now, it's going to list your different action sets here. Now, I have a group here called Open Filters. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to fill this with one of my favorite Topaz plugins, and that's Topaz Studio. And I have an action made to launch Topaz Studio 2 right here, so I'm going to click here, and now that is programmed into this instant action. I'm going to go ahead and launch Topaz Studio 2, but to do that, I have to have a pixel layer to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these two layers. So Vignette is selected, and I'm just going to come up to my trash can, which is color-coded, so I can find it easy. Click this, gets rid of my Vignette filter. I'm going to get rid of my soft pop by clicking here. And then I want to duplicate this background layer by clicking this action right here. See how quick that is on your workflow when you use the TK8 CX or combo panel. Really nice. So there's my background copy. Now if I click this action, click it, and it will launch Topaz Studio 2, and then I could get started inside of Topaz Studio 2. Of course, I'm not going to do anything because I'm just showing you how it works. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and click cancel, and that brings me back into Photoshop. But that's how easy it is to program that instant action with an action. My next tip is concerning your user actions and how you can create actions to launch other Photoshop plugins, and I'm going to actually show you how to make that action. Let's start by making an action. I'll show you how to make an action to launch a plugin. So what we'll do is come up to your actions, click on your actions, open up the actions, and you can make yourself a new folder by coming here and clicking folder, and you can put a bunch of different actions inside a folder, like different actions. But I have a folder already made here called Open Filters, so I'm just going to click on that Open Filters folder, and then I'll simply come here, and you see the little plus here, click this, give your action a name. I'm going to call this action LUM space AI for Luminar AI. Now I'm using 2 words, and I'm using 3 characters maximum per word. Now there's a reason for that, and it'll make sense. Don't worry about that right now. If you stay through to the end of this video, you'll understand why I'm doing this. But for now, do it this way. So this is Luminar AI, and I'm going to go ahead and click record. And you see my little record icon is lit up now because I'm recording. All I have to do now is come up here to this little hamburger menu, I'm going to call it. Click here and click on Insert a Menu Item. When you do, all you need to do is come up to Filter then and find Luminar AI, which is in the Skylum software section. Luminar AI, click that, and now it says software, Skylum software, Luminar AI, and click OK. And now I've recorded that action, and I'm done, so I have to click stop. This is very important. After you're done, just click stop. That's a really fast and easy action to make, and that's how simple it is to make an action to launch a Photoshop plugin. Now when we're done, we can just click this icon and shut our actions down. Now let's go ahead and load that action into user actions. Now if your user actions aren't open, all you need to do is click this icon here and click the plus. And I have that under Open Filters, and it's the last one I made called Loom AI for Luminar AI. I'm going to go ahead and click this, and now it's installed as an action. Now I can right click this and color code it. Let's give it a color code like blue, or any color you want, really. I mean, you have your choice of any of these colors. Now let's go ahead and give it a test. Say we wanted to make it a smart object before we send it into Luminar AI. So let's come and click X and get out of here, and let me turn this into a smart object by clicking this icon right here. It'll convert that into a smart object. Takes a second or two. And now we can come to my user actions and click Luminar AI. It'll go ahead and launch Luminar AI. Now remember, it's going in as a smart object. Takes a second or two for Luminar AI to launch here. And here we are in Luminar AI, and I could go into edit and do whatever I want in here. But of course, I'm not going to do anything, so I'm just going to click cancel because I'm just showing you that it does work. Okay, so just like that, we've made an action to launch Luminar AI, and it lives right inside of here. This is my last tip for you, and it is dealing with reprogramming certain buttons on the TK8 CX panel or combo panel. Now, I'm on page 31 of the instruction guide. Remember, you can download this. Just click on the download link below the video in the description, and you can get this instruction manual. But you notice these buttons that are highlighted in red, like the 100% button. These buttons in here, including the blend buttons and the different sizing buttons. And then we have the Adobe Camera Raw Filter button and the Content Aware Field button. These particular buttons can be reprogrammed. So if you find there's a button that you really don't use, say you don't use the size button or the canvas button, which I don't generally use too often or at all, I can reprogram these. I'm going to show you how this works. Or say this 100% button, you don't use it a lot, you can reprogram it, or maybe the Content Aware Field or the Adobe Camera Raw Filter. If you don't use that much, you could reprogram those buttons, which is really handy. I've already went ahead and reprogrammed some of my buttons. For instance, this button, Neural Filter, N-E-U-F-I-L. Now remember, I told you only use like 3 characters and 2 words. And this is the reason why, because you only have so much space here. You can only use 2 words in here, and you have so much space. So N-E-U for Neural, F-I-L for Filter. And down here, 2 words, T-P, Topaz for Topaz, and this is Studio. Now, remember, I changed this, what's it called, the Instant Action button to Topaz Studio 2 because it's probably the plugin I use the most. So I may want to change this one out. So let me go ahead and change this one out. All I need to do is Command-click this and click Reset, and it resets it back to Content Aware Fill. Now we'll fill it with something else. Before I do that, I'm going to right-click this layer and rasterize it because I want to send this layer into a lens blur filter, and I can't send a smart object into a lens blur filter. What I'll do is take this Content Aware Fill button and change it to a lens blur icon. So what I need to do is make an action to launch a lens blur filter. So what I need to do is come up to my actions. I'm going to click on this group called Open Filters and click the plus here. And give this action a name, and it's going to be called LEN for lens, space BLR for lens blur. Click record, and then all I have to do is come up to this menu here and choose insert menu item. And now we'll come to filter, and it sits in this blur section, and it's called lens blur. So click that, and now the menu item is blur, lens blur. Click OK. And then click stop. That's very important. Now we can close this action down. Now we can Command or Control click CAF, Content Aware Fill, and then we can click this action here for Open Filters. Now I'll just click Lens Blur, and now you notice that Content Aware Fill has now been replaced by Lens Blur. So if I click on this Lens Blur filter, it'll send this background copy into the Lens Blur filter. Just like that. Now I'm not going to do anything with it now, so I'm just going to click cancel. So now I've reprogrammed Content Aware Fill to be my lens blur filter. I want to do one last thing. I'm going to take this ACR, because this is one of the buttons I can reprogram. I'm going to Command or Control click it. I'm going to fill it with an action which is found in this group called The Joy of Editing, called Depth Map. I'm going to click that, and now that depth map lives in there. And the reason I'm doing that is because I like to use a depth map with my lens blur filter, and the way I get that depth map is by getting it from the Neural Filter. And I just did a video on this, which I'll link at the end of this video. And I'm going to end this video with a demonstration. And that is how I utilize the depth map, lens blur, and neural filter one after the other by reprogramming my TK8 CX panel. So what I do is make sure I have my background layer selected. I click on neural filter, which launches the neural filter. Then I'll click depth blur, make sure I have it checked on. I'll check off output depth map only. It'll make me a depth map. I click OK. Then all I simply do is come to Depth Map and give this a click. And what it does is it duplicates my background layer, which I'm going to send into the lens blur filter, but it also added a depth map to my channels panel. All right. And then all I have to do at this point is click on lens blur. It sends that layer into the lens blur filter, and then I can utilize my depth map. Right now it says none. I'm going to put depth map on. I utilize my depth map, and then what I can do is I have this set focal point selected right here. I can click any part of this image. Like if I want this part to be in focus, it'll let this part of the image be in focus, the rest out of focus, or I can click here because it's got a depth map involved, right? And it's just that simple. And then I just click OK, and then I'm back in Photoshop. But that is how I'm using the TK8 CX Combo panel to speed up my lens blurring process, because it's quite an involved process. And go and watch that video, and again I'll list it at the end of this video, but it uses a lens blur filter, a depth map, and a neural filter. It's really cool. And with the aid of the customization on the TK8 CX panel, it really sped up my workflow time. By the way, I'll give you a link to download my depth map action for free in case you want to try installing it into your TK8 plugin for some practice. But give this a try. Customize your TK8 plugin. I think you'll be really happy. Please leave comments and questions in the comment section below. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.